Have you ever gotten so blackout drunk that you kind of don't remember what happened the night before or what the hell went on in that whole time that you don't remember? And you're just, here's a movie all about that kind of thing. Except it's about a 12-year-old kid that gets abducted by aliens and comes back 8 years later. Anyway, here's Flight of the Navigator. Yeah, Flight of the Navigator is a Disney live-action production from 1986. This one was recommended to me by my friend Matt. He tells me he's been a fan of this movie since it first came out, since he was a kid. And I gotta say, this is the very first time I've ever seen this movie, at least in its entirety. I watched it just this morning. I mean, I wasn't a kid when this came out. I was 15. So I didn't really want to watch any live action Disney movies at that age. I think I was more into, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, Star Wars sequels, and Conan. I don't know, anything's cooler than live action Disney movies. So I guess I didn't appreciate it as much as maybe he did. My apologies for that. Thank you, sir, for recommending the movie, and I guess it was worth watching. It's not terrible. It's not a bad movie by any means, but I just didn't find it that exciting. Now, the breakdown of the story is this. There's a little kid, gets briefly separated from his family and wanders off into the woods and gets abducted by an artificially intelligent alien spacecraft with the voice of Pee Wee Herman. Anyway, he gets abducted, and he gets dropped off in exactly the same place 8 years later. So he's missing for 8 years and presumed dead. And he comes back and he hasn't aged a day. So basically his younger brother is now his older looking brother. And his parents look kind of old and stuff. And they're like, oh my God, where have you been? And how come you haven't aged? How come you look exactly the same? It's been 8 years. You were gone in 1978. And now you're back in 1986? What the hell? And so we don't really know. At first, there's no indication of alien anything until later in the movie, as it's explained through NASA discovers the spaceship and they bring it back to their facilities. And, well, they don't abduct, but they kind of detain our main protagonist, whose name is David, by the way. Yeah, this 12-year-old kid who's actually now should be 20 years old, but he still looks like he's 12, and he's still wearing the same clothes. Through the entire movie, actually, he wears the same clothes. I don't know, he wears pretty much the same shirt through the entire movie. Okay, so he's in this NASA facility, and he's being detained, and they're trying to question him, and they're hooking up all this shit to his brain to try and get information out of him and stuff. And so he's really scared, and he doesn't want to be there, and understandably, and his family's still freaked out and trying to get him out of there and everything, and he escapes or wanders around the facility with the assistance of a very young Sarah Jessica Parker. Not her first movie, but an early appearance of Sarah Jessica Parker. She doesn't have that big a role in there, but she's really just there to facilitate David getting access to the alien spacecraft that originally abducted him. And so David goes back to the spacecraft, and he gets aboard, and he meets the AI intelligence, the ship's computer kind of thing, escapes from the facility. I guess I should mention some of the people that are actually in this movie. Working at the NASA facility, you may recognize the head of operations guy or whatever. He's played by Howard Hessman. Howard Hessman, you may remember as Dr. Johnny Fever from WKRP in Cincinnati. Also from the mid-90s show Head of the Class, where he played Mr. whatever, the teacher anyway, in Head of the Class, a show about high school students, and it sucked. Other actors in here, at least the ones that I recognized, were Cliff D. Young. He's been in a ton of stuff. Character actor. You've seen this guy's face a billion times before. He plays David's dad. Then also as David's mom is a lady named Veronica Cartwright. And I distinctly remember her from the very first Alien movie. John Hurt's laying on the table and the freaking chest burster comes out of his chest, and they didn't tell her ahead of time when she was on set that this was going to happen, and so they just played it out, and she was like super freaked out, and so they got a really genuine reaction out of her. Anyway, that's the only thing I really remember about her in that movie, but I distinctly remember her freaking out. Yeah, Sarah Jessica Parker, Howard Hessman, Clifty Young, Veronica Cartwright. Nobody else matters in this movie because there's barely anybody else in it. Like I said, the ship's computer is portrayed by Pee Wee Herman.
Paging Mr. Herman.
Except you're not supposed to know that it's Pee Wee Herman because he's credited in the end credits. He's second cast as the voice of Max, the computer. He's credited as Paul Mall. It really was Paul Reubens doing the voice here, and that becomes pretty obvious. The computer learns to laugh or whatever because the kid teaches it humanity and how to laugh. So he's like, yeah. So anyway, David gets aboard the spaceship and they travel all around the world and they're zipping around at light speed and all this stuff, and they're talking about, what happened during those 8 years and how this computer spaceship thing is really just out there to collect samples, and I guess somehow got a hold of David and made him into the navigator of the spaceship. I don't know, it got really boring and dumb actually once David got aboard the spaceship, and I know that that's not what was intended. That was intended to be when the movie would pick up, right? Because then you get all the stuff for the kids. You get the cool looking computer generated spaceship, at least in some parts, and you get a bunch of little puppet animals, little puppet creatures, alien things, goofy looking puppets. I mean, we're not talking Ghoulies quality puppets here. Aboard the ship that Max has gathered from other worlds, and one of them becomes David's little friend, and he actually ends up taking that thing home with him at the end of the movie. And yeah, I don't know, it got really dumb, and all their exposition, it was just boring. I could see that if I saw this when I was a kid, there probably would have been a lot in here to entertain me. Like I said, the little floppy puppets and stuff, and the ship's computer is kind of funny, and the set of the interior of the spaceship looks kind of neat, and the spaceship itself looks kind of neat. And okay, fine, I get that. I'm coming at this though as an adult, and I'm seeing this 38 years after it came out, so it didn't have the same impact for me. The story, I thought the overall theme of the movie, where the kid disappears and he's gone for forever, and all the ramifications of that, I thought that was really interesting, but not explored to the depth that I think it should have been. But then again, I understand why they didn't do that, because we want kids in the audience. We want to put flashy, cool kid stuff on screen, and they're not going to want to hear all this emotional drama. But I think the strength of the movie is the emotional drama, so they really should have just put a little bit more in there. Yeah, I don't know, Flight of the Navigator, it's okay, but I can't really give it anything higher than a C+. Like I said, the concept of it is really interesting, but not explored fully, and it just kind of leaves you hanging a little bit at the end. Oh, by the way, at the end, spoilers. Well, if you haven't seen Flight of the Navigator by now, you've had 38 years, man. I don't feel bad about spoiling this movie for you. At the very end, Max, the ship's computer, makes it possible that David is basically able to go back in time, and they're going to drop him off in that same location, so it'll be like he never went anywhere at all. Yay, problem solved. And at the end, David realizes that how much he really appreciates his family, and especially his annoying little brother. I don't know, C+. So yeah, I have a ton of movies to catch up on. I just tried to sneak this one in there just because I just watched it today, and I want to get this out of the way as soon as possible. Not that it was a bad movie, but I just wanted to get it done. And just like every time, have a good one out there, everybody.